So now that we've covered the basics of the settings screen, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Up here you can see that you have several buttons. We've covered the Add Property button, but let's say we want to remove a property. We first have to select it, and then we can hit the Remove Property button. Now if you would like to reorder your properties, you can go changing this number here to set the order that you want the properties to appear. Mind you, these will be the order within the particular tab, so if I reordered these, they would all be that order in the General tab. I can also undo and redo. If I need to filter my properties in case I have too many, I can do that too. I can expand all of them. I can also collapse all of them. And then there's these three buttons. Reset the defaults will reset your properties to the Bommer defaults, while export settings will allow you to export your existing settings to a file. This is whether you want to maintain a backup of your settings in case something happens, or if you wish to have a colleague be onboarded and you can just have them import their settings. Now, a few other things. If I go down to our whatever property and expand this, let's say I want to go and make this a multiple choice property. Now you can see I have this values tab here, so I can change this to whatever, whenever, and whoever. So these are the options that you would be able to select from on the table if I were to set this as multiple choice. We also have our built-in properties. You can select from this list of built-in properties, and I'm not going to dig into these right now. I'll include a link in the description that leads to a guide that has all of these listed out, but needless to say, these are Fusion properties that we pull the data from and showing your Bomber bill of materials table. So if I set this back to text, a few other things to note. Scope controls where the data is stored. So top level or component, whether you are editing the data only on the assembly level, or if you want those changes to go down to the component. You also have the default value type. If you set this to none, that means the value will always be blank. There will be nothing in that cell. If you set it to value, then you can type in a value, and by default, the value in that cell will be the value that you set here. You can also set it to a property, which you can type out or select, but I set this to quantity. That means that by default, this property, whatever, will show the quantity for that particular line item. And then if I need to override it, you can go in and override it. And the last thing is if I change this from default value type property to formula. So here I can have, say, quantity times 3. And what this will mean is that the default value for this particular property will be quantity times 3. I can then go in and change that value manually, but by default it'll show this. This is useful for when you have a particular property that will be a formula that takes in several factors and calculates. So you could always have a live calculation in your Bomber bill of materials table.